Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and let's take a quick sip of Reali-Tea for the latest episode of Drag Race España Season 5. But before we do, as always, let me introduce my co-host, QuackrrJack.
Hola, chicas.
So Jack, I gotta know, did episode 5 of España 5 snatch and serve like the episode title promised?
Um, it was alright. I wouldn't say snatch and serve. I would say there was a snatch game. It was pretty good. I will say the snatch game was pretty good. I think the placements were mostly kind of known, but what really was killing it was the runway this week. The runway was so good.
I was gonna say the runways, the dramas, the challenges, everything about España 5 right now is blowing out UK 3 or UK 7 easily. So this has become
How
my
dare you
season
even
to watch
compare
right
it?
now. I mean, compare it, they premiered at the same time, so I have no choice but to. But I'm like, between the two, I kind of feel bad
There's
that we
no
took like the
comparison.
double last week because I'm like, I really wish we could have like spent less time in UK because España is the one that feels like that is actually serving here. And like I said, it's between like the drama, this challenge. This was probably one of the first Snatch games I feel like in like an international one that I felt like it was just really good as far as like being able to follow it without necessarily having to know like the characters and whatnot. There was just also some fun conclusions of drama that I think we had at the end of this episode too. So it felt like a really good episode, at least for me. I was enjoying the experience. Not necessarily maybe like top tier drag race at the moment, but I'll take what we get here, especially compared to what else we're getting. But speaking of messiness, I think the messy tone kind of started right from the start because we do get the infamous reading challenge, and my favorite part wasn't necessarily the reads, but kind of the shady editing that they had going on there because they definitely made sure that we were well aware that Krystal Forever was taking notes of her rivals Alexandria Del Reval and Nyx's read because they went right back to her every single time after they said something about her. And my favorite part was Krystal trying to feel like she was unbothered and trying to seem like she's unbothered, but she was very clearly bothered. And I was expecting her to have like a good read back. I told you, I was like, I'm a little afraid. Like, what's she gonna say? And she flopped. And I think that was kind of like the storyline for this whole episode was just the downfall of Krystal Forever. And it was so sad to see because she's been such a fun presence this whole entire time.
I mean, was it really the downfall, or was it like the constant, like continuous sort of fading out of the show for Krystal? Like, you'll never forget she was there per se, but as far as challenges go, it hasn't been the best, and she's not exactly getting screen time because she's doing well there. So don't get me wrong, I love to see her. I think she looks great. I think she's a fun character on the show. I love drama, so I wasn't mad about her being here.
Do you think that there was I mean, prior to the Snatch Game, one part I do want to kind of bring up here beforehand in the workroom walkthrough part. I thought it was very strange that they decided to bring up, and I think you said it too at the time. They decided to bring up the fact that Linacia Sparks went home on Celia Cruz, which was Crystal Forever's character. And that just felt like a very strange thing to say to somebody to be like, "Hey, do you remember what happened like 10 years ago to this one person that no one even speaks of anymore?" Like, was that really
Yeah,
relevant to bring up?
no, it was just a shady comment. I'm letting you know that the at least if the intent was to help her or guide her, be like, hey, just remember the it should have been expressed like that. It should have been like, hey, just want to make sure that you remember that this character's been done before. No, it was well, good luck with that because Lanisha Sparks went home on Celia Cruz, and I was like, okay, so as far as we talk about girls with their professionalism, I don't find that professional as like a person who goes through. Not that I like am a good person to talk about professionalism, but I'm just saying if we're gonna hold people to that standard, we might as well hold everyone to the same standard. So I don't think the comment was necessary. I don't think it was helpful, and I think it was definitely kind of a way to get in someone's head.
I was gonna say, it feels like Crystal has something against production, maybe at the end of this episode, during some of her comments that we hear her say on stage, but we'll get to those in a second here because that was pretty much what the whole episode was coming down to. But I want to make sure that Jack has a moment before we get to the Untucked drama, that he could get a moment to go to the runway and talk about his yeses and his messes this week. And category was Tool. Did you like this category, Jack?
Tulle Madness is a great category. Let me tell you, I was so excited. I was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is gonna be fun. Most people showed up on this runway. Most people showed up. They had a concept. It was fun. A few misses here or
Same.
there. And let's go over it, shall we? We'll start with the messes because honestly, no one did a terrible job, right? No one did like the worst job ever, like quit drag kind of thing. But I do feel a bit bad when you're standing next to someone on the stage and you go look over at Nyx. I feel like Nyx has shown us that she has great ideas, good concepts. They're not always executed well. And I loved her idea of this orchid. Like the judges told her, the makeup and the hairpiece, they're like so much fun. They work well together. Overall, though, it's not really giving madness. It's just giving, I made an outfit out of tulle and I wore it here. And honestly, it's just not flattering to her body. And I think that's kind of the issue here is like it's just not very flattering.
Yeah, I've
And
noticed that a lot for, unfortunately, Nyx's runaways, is they do seem to be lacking a little bit in like the polish, the finish, the actual like materials of it. They're not bad
mhm,
ideas, but she's gonna be a queen. I think is gonna thrive on this runway when she gets like a little bit of, a little bit of bank, a little bit of coin. But right now
yes.
her looks are looking a little, without wanting to be rude, they're a little crafty.
And then if let's take it to the other side of like execution also going well, but the concept not really going as far as it needs to is I think Theron here. Um she has this
Are you
interesting
ever gonna get
idea.
Ferran's name right? Ever?
No, no. Veron won the reading challenge, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all she's done. Um, So Faran literally has this like draped over kind of cage thing. We can't see her hair very well. We can't see her makeup. We can barely see the dress. Like it was a great idea, but it was just like if you're going to be hidden so much, you either have to reveal at some point or come out of the shell and like close it back up and like come down like slowly coming out of it or something. It just this kind of presentation of it just wasn't good. And I think this might have been a reason why she was not a winner this week, specifically
Ooh.
because of her runway package. Unlike a lot of other internet or well not inter a lot of other seasons of Drag Race, the runway doesn't mean anything. Here it does mean something. And unfortunately, she's next right next to Nyx. It was just like right at the bottom. And honestly, my last one, I gotta give it to Laka. It's not that she did a bad job, it's just I wasn't inspired, blown away, excited for her. I feel like she put some tulle in a hair mohawk, and that's kind of what we got. Everything else was just a basic dress made out of tulle, as opposed to like the category is Tulle Madness. So I'm thinking we're gonna get something like over the top, avant garde, something very fun, couture, something. It's it's very basic as far as like a look. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it didn't stand out, especially next to the other girls. And so on the flip side of that, we have two queens who just constantly eat this runway up. And I'm so excited every time I hear their names. Daphne Mugler and Denabola. Oh, I could talk for hours about these looks alone. Denabola, I know you're worried about her being a clown all the time. She has her signature uh, collar neck piece, going on in the tulle. But she has all these pom poms of tools going on. She's this huge headpiece of tulle everywhere. And there are just tulle balls that constantly are creating this silhouette and the structure over her outfit. You know, she put the tool balls on her literal stiletto heels, like her pumps, and it's just every or their platform stilettos. I'm sorry, not pumps. Excuse me. She just looks amazing. It's so different. It's so fun. Like you know, you're gonna get something a little different with Denobola, but unlike some of the girls who do different things like Laka, I feel like you don't really know what you're gonna get with Denobola always. Um,
She did bring back the signature clown ruffle for this one, which I don't mind. She's proven that she could do other looks. Like this is the first time she's had it, maybe since like the first week, I want to say.
oh yeah,
So yeah, I'm fine with it.
and
I'm
and
a little
then
worried about
on
some other parts of her package, but not that, not
no,
that.
like I mean, okay, so then on the complete flip side, Daphne McGuire, known for not wearing as much, you know, she has so much tulle on. I was like, the tulle might be heavier than her at this point. You know, Daphne's not that big of a girl. She has the most elegant green shade dress. Like, there's like a ombre effect going on because there's so many different types of tulle and colors of tulle going on to create this amazing, beautiful silhouette. It's large and it's huge. It's just spreading out. There are like buff like bushes of tulle almost everywhere, and it's sculpting a beautiful large evening gown, but it's so different. And then she has a half of a face piece made of tulle where her eye is peeking out of the other like third of her face that's covered up and goes out past a little towards her hair, and it's so beautiful, it's so fun, it's so magnificent. Like when she came up on the stage, I was like, oh, Michelle Visage, eat your green heart out, baby. Like you might not like green, but you cannot talk about this. And in all of this, cinched the there is a constant swirl pattern going on here to really give shape and also just really show the different aspects of her body. We have like poofy sleeves. We have these huge shoulders, this huge waist, amazingly brought in like almost like a corset, if you will. I mean, all the bottom it kind of almost reminds you of a flamenco dancer a bit. If you were able to keep that shape at always when not in motion as well, it's so crazy. It was so good. You know, the way she presented it, so good. And then finally, Miss Krystal, we've already talked about her, but this look, last week we got a bit of a showing of it because we knew there was gonna be some drama in Untucked, but this was everything. Miss Krystal had the girl's gag. She had this beautiful, like huge hair, but it wasn't all out. It was like specifically up and lay towards the back. It was kind of like curled up to like almost make the shape of the tulle. She has the different shades of pink all throughout, creating this beautiful evening gown. And then she swirls them to make the bodice of the dress. She has this huge, like, just almost pillows of tulle coming out from the bottom to make the skirt. Just the little I don't even know what you would call it. It's so beautiful, and she has these sleeves and shoulder pieces also mimicking all the different colors in these swirls and creating such dramatic effect in great places. Your eyes go these areas and you just want more. This is the kind of fashion I want. She looks amazing. She's got them stoned. You know, she's really showing you that pageant drag that she does, and it makes me so excited every time.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
miss
miss her.
Crystal's runways. They were really good. But unfortunately, she did have the Snatch Game to kind of go through, and I do have like a note here or there about Crystal's performance, but I want to talk about the tops here first because, as far as I'm concerned, I do think the top three was correct. Ferran's Rita Barbara, Margarita's Torrente, and Satine's Isabel Pantoja. I think they were the standouts of the night. You said earlier that Ferran, the only thing she did right was the acting or the reading challenge. I think she did really well here in this Snatch Game too. So I think you need to give her a little bit of credit there because she was pretty funny with her performance too. And you really didn't need to like understand really who the character was because she was or know who they were like prior beforehand. I don't think any of these characters you really had to because they really kind of embodied who these people were, which I thought was really good. They also had a lot of banter within each other, and it was nice to see Faran be able to transfer, the fact that she did well in the reading challenge to the Snatch game because not a lot of queens can do that. Not everybody can win the reading challenge and then go on to win Snatch game too. So I do think Faran
Leadership is key.
was definitely deserving of the top, but I think for me the main standout absolutely was Satine Greco. She was just all over the place. I don't think I've ever seen anybody get up and kind of run around the stage as much as she has during the Snatch game. So I do think that was something else that kind of made her stand out as well too. And something else that it was funny that you kind of picked up on while we were watching it was this was the same bottom three that we had episode two. Everybody was saved, and now look at who the top three is. Kind of crazy, slightly
Yeah,
unexpected.
it was actually episode 3, just so like because it was the ball. It's very important to me.
Oh,
I need
right.
you to know.
Okay, episode
Um,
three.
but but yes, it was the same bottom 3, top 3. So it is interesting. We kept the girls, and now they're doing well. I think for me though, it's not that I want to discredit Ferran. It's just that when I said that, I meant like she hasn't won a maxi challenge yet. She has won a mini challenge twice. She's had some high placements. She's. I think the place she really struggles the most is the runway and a little bit of the makeup, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of that, but what I think is I think it was really the runway that really got her. Like it could have been close, but I really think that was a big deciding factor for her this week. Like I think Margarita did an amazing job as well being in the top, but I think we all kind of felt like, if Satine is going to pretty much sacrifice herself, fall on the sword episode 3, and they refuse to get rid of her because she's so amazing and we all want to see more from her, then like she needs that win. And she got it. And she deserved it. And I think when we were looking at what was going on, I think we all kind of had the same thoughts of who was going to be the top, but there were really like 5 people who did extremely well, I think, for the most part in this challenge, which usually sometimes we struggle to find like a top 3, or sometimes we're like nitpicking who's going to actually make into the bottom or who's going to just barely save themselves from the bottom. I think it was pretty correct outside of one little sneak slip there for me in my
Is it
mind.
Denny Bola? Because that's kind of
Yeah,
where I was thinking, because she was definitely giving a little bit of like something Wong's seriousness during her Snatch game, where she like just takes the character and just kind of plays the character. There's no funny to it. And
yes,
I
it was
definitely think
100%
there's a very
Delabola.
strong argument to put her in the bottom three. But I'm wondering, Jack, do you think she was saved because of this whole you're basically in the bottom three and the only person that saves you is the heart? Because I kind of think she
Um,
might have been.
I do think there was a chance that the reason she was saved had less to do with the heart and more to do with making sure that whoever was in the bottom, it would be somewhat dramatic because the 3 people in the bottom are Krystal Forever, Alexandra, and Nyx, and
The
we know both.
rival.
Exactly. We know Nyx and Alexandra have constantly been butting heads with Krystal, and that's where a lot of the feuds have been happening recently. So I think they were really determined to put Krystal in the bottom against one of the two because they knew for a fact that no one was saving Krystal with the heart. And I think if we had gotten Denebola in the bottom, I do think she would have been saved with the heart, or she should have been at least, which means we probably would have ended up with the same outcome. That being said, I do kind of feel bad for Nyx because I do not think she deserved the bottom. Maybe if you include the runway in there, I can understand the argument for because Denebola doing so well and Nyx being kind of the worst on the runway ish. Like, there's definitely like a argument to be made for that. But at the end of the day, it didn't really matter because Nyx gets saved, so we don't have to worry about like either her or Denebola ending up in the bottom 2.
Right. So instead, we end up with this Harry Potter rendition, which
Oh, terrible.
uh, this could be like one of the worst things I think I've seen on a Snatch game. before. Like this was bad. It was just
Yeah.
awkward. It was off-putting. There were kind of jokes, but I mean, there's like a tact to, the sex joke to some degree. Like I think it's super lame to just constantly rely on that all the time. And there was just none of these were funny that she was doing. And it was just the reveal at the end didn't make any sense. It was just Alexander was clearly kind of in her head this episode, and you could kind of tell like the whole time, like during Untucked, like she was very much so like getting emotional, and she kept bringing up the fact that she was living off of white rice and tomatoes the whole entire time to before getting on the show so she could pay for being on the show. So like that was it was a weird off-putting weird energy, and I really didn't like how Alexander basically kind of spent the rest of her time attacking Krystal when all Krystal was trying to do, I think, in Untucked was have a moment where she can kind of have some resolution with the girls, because in a lot of what she was saying is kind of true. They kind of really would not really kind of only half listen to what she would say. They would always take it in a negative direction versus just kind of letting her just kind of speak sometimes. And I don't think she ever did anything that was particularly too nasty to the point that set her apart from all the rest of the girls. Yeah, she had that moment during that the sewing challenge or whatever, whatnot, where that all went down. But the emotion should be expected. Like you should be able to kind of forgive someone and at least allow someone to have a human moment to let them speak. And I did not get that from Alexandra at all whatsoever. Um, so I kind of was going into this really wanting Krystal to beat Alexandra, even though we knew that was not going to happen. I don't know how I feel about Alexandra after this episode, especially like last episode. I was really vibing with her when she got to share her story, but now to see this side of her, I'm like, oh, I don't know,
Okay,
girl.
I do have something to say about Alexander because something she said that wasn't even to the girls in the confessional really rubbed me the wrong way too. I do think that Alexandra and Crystal and I don't think that they needed to necessarily have this understanding. I do think Crystal has been rubbing people the wrong way. I do think there's a difference though here. We have to kind of remember that there's a cultural issue because a lot of the girls are from Spain and Crystal is from Venezuela. And I'm not saying that it's completely different, everything is different, but there may be a cultural difference here where maybe something she doesn't perceive as rude or being disrespectful is being perceived that way. And I kind of agree with you. Like, I don't think anyone really had any kind of um, compassion or like wanting to forgive her for anything. Whereas I do think if it had been another girl, they would have been more willing to. And another thing I think that's important to remember is that it is a competition. So I'm not expecting anyone to be best friends. I'm not expecting you to get over something that someone did. So like I'm fine with that. But they constantly interrupted her and acted like she was crazy when she said it. And I was like, "Girl, I watched the last 5 minutes. I saw you constantly interrupting her. I'm not saying she's not interrupting you, but when she says something and she's middle of the statement and you guys immediately cut into it, like that's a feeling that we all get. Like we all know how that feels. It does not feel good to be cut off. Like and maybe for her especially, maybe that's a big like kind of a trigger for her, you know. And I don't know. Alexandra said something though that was even worse in my opinion because she made a comment about how Nyx was saved because she was playing like the pity card or like the sad girl card kind of thing. And I was like, I didn't like that at all because I was like, Nyx getting saved has nothing to do with like you or Margarita or like anything like that. That's like I don't think it came down to that kind of thing. If we're being real, like whether Margarita is closer with Nyx than with Alexandra doesn't mean that like it's this conspiracy or that Nyx is just like getting babied or anything like that. And also, I found it very strange that Nyx got saved and then critiqued for playing the sad girl card or whatever. And then in lip sync, Alexandra played the sad girl card. I
Yeah,
was
she
like,
looked like she was
hypocrite much?
crying the whole time. Like I thought she was actually
Exactly.
in tears at one point. Like that was a
I wasn't
little.
feeling it.
I would have given the win to Crystal, but we already kind of
Same.
knew that that where things were gonna go. Like I don't want to feel this negativity towards Alexander because I'm sure this is an extremely, like I said, there's pressure. There's clearly a lot of pressure. There's been a lot of tension in that workroom for a long period of time. So, in a lot of ways, Krystal getting removed could be a good thing, at least for like Alexandra Nyx, because now there's that antagonistic presence, at least on their end, that they view out of the way, you know? So hopefully, maybe this is just them just not showing a necessarily good side when they're able, like, in confrontation. 'Cause a lot of the times you're not going to necessarily show your best, is what it is. But yeah, there was definitely. I mean, we can't blame it all on Krystal, is what I'm trying to say here. What I
Yeah.
will say, though, is I did not like some of Crystal's excuses, because didn't she say that she was saying that the host was the one that was cutting her off? So she's saying Supreme was cutting her off, so she is still upset about this whole thing that happened in the workroom earlier, where they were basically not helping her and just being like, well, good luck with your Celia Cruz and be eliminated like Lanisha Sparks. um, Crystal did kind of take things a little personally sometimes, I think, and I do think there were some excuses that I was just not kind of vibing with too at some point. But
Oh,
like I said, it
definitely.
was great TV though. So I'm like, I can't hate on it. Like I'm enjoying it. So it'll be hopefully. I mean, we are hopefully going to get a reunion, right? So I think this will be someone that I'm very excited to see at the reunion. They do one, I'm assuming. So um, let's just pour one out for Crystal and enjoy the drama that she's given. And
I agree. I do have to say one thing with the Snatch Game. This is the challenge where it is the easiest to kind of make things seem away or a girl seem like she is like crazy for the things she says. So, I'm not saying that the edit is all to blame here, but I want her to clarify for us what she meant with like, the host specifically cutting her off or like the other girls because one of the things she also talked about was how the other girls she was trying to be respectful and stuff and the girls were not having it. They did not like that answer. They were like, no. And what I found was so funny was the guest judge said one thing and then one of the hobbies said something completely different. The guest judge was like, well, like I understand wanting to respect with them and sometimes you just got to cut them off and like get your moment because every time that you cut them off, trust me, they will cut you off once more or something like that. And then Javi was like, "Well, I think your real issue is that like you really need to listen to the other girls." And I was like, "What?" But and it was like listening to the girls to be successful in the challenge, not just like in general. And so I was like, "So was she supposed to listen to them more, or was she supposed to cut them off more?" Like I was like kind of confused. I was like, at least my wires were getting confused in that. I was like, hmm. So I don't know.
yeah, the way I kind of took that whole moment was the guest judge was saying something, and the hobby was kind of jumping in and be like, "No, this is what you should have done." Is at least how I kind of read that. And as far as I mean, that part goes though too. It, I kind of agree with the girls that like you don't wait for a snatch game and have this be the moment where you're going to be like, well, I'm going to try to make things up to the girls for how terrible I've been in the past, and I'm going to let you just kind of I'm going to let you have your moment in the snatch game. I'm not gonna be rude to any of you. I'm gonna just do things when I need to. And I'm not gonna speak up or anything. Like that seems like a little bit of a cop out because it did kind of seem like to some degree that's how she was trying to frame it, was that she was doing this as something that she was trying to like show like, oh, I'm showing like, I don't know, like reparations for my grievances that I have caused or something, by not chiming in here, when it's like, no, girl, I just don't think you had anything really interesting or funny to say. So that's kind of how I took it. But I don't know. The fact that we're having this much discussion about Crystal just kind of goes to show just like how amazing of a presence she is. And I really hope the season doesn't kind of like go away with her gone. We will get to see the results of her heart reveal next week if she doesn't just throw it in the trash on her way out, which I would expect her to do before she would give it to somebody. But she says she knows who she's giving it to, so assuming Satine, probably. But if that happens, then we won't get a save. But we also have next week in the Rusical. Looks like we're gonna have two Rusicals this week. So, and it looks like Daphne also might be the one to be maybe starting a little bit of drama here because it sounds like she might be showing her devious side, and there could be something up with the role selection. I mean, they love to get into fights over parts, so can't wait to see how that turns out, right?
Well, I mean, it seemed like to me she was like, "Remember how you did me dirty? It's time to get that payback." And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Well, karma's a bitch. So let's see how it goes." Like, I love a good moment. You know what? If you get the opportunity to sabotage someone and help yourself, take it. Take it, bitch.
hmm Cause that drama. Well, Jack, do you have any final words here for our fifth episode of España and Miss Krystal
Um,
Forever?
my words are that Crystal's an amazing drag queen. I love what she does. Remember that Drag Race is not the end all for what drag is or how good someone is as a drag queen, but based on how they do on the seasons. Because I mean, if we're keeping it real, we all thought that Crystal was the winner of that lip sync. So if it wasn't for the fact that her record was just a little bit worse than Alexandra's at this point, I do think, especially when a girl loses her hair, that was gaggy to me.
Ooh,
When Alexandra lost her hair and they still let her be the winner, I was like, crazy. Also, the
welcome
song
to
Piano Man
Jeray
is great.
flashbacks, right?
Oh, that's so many times girls have lost their hair and it's an immediate loss. And I'm like, I guess we're no longer doing that. I guess it's going to continue from season was like this recent season 17. We're just going to continue it, right?
But if you
So,
lose your shoes, then you're eliminated. That's where we draw the line. You can't lose your shoes, but you can lose your hair.
well, even if you take your shoes off for a reason, it's still illegal. But, I hope Crystal gets the best. I hope she's booked and blessed. And I hope that there are no more excuses from any of the girls coming out because I don't want to hear nobody mad about the twist that we all knew was happening this season.
hmm I can't wait to see what Crystal does with this heart. Honestly, this is going to be very exciting to see who she gives it to. But, as always, can't wait to see how this turns out, and hopefully y'all can't either, especially if you made it this far again. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment below because we'd love to discuss the episode with y'all. But until next time, and on behalf of my co-caster, QuackrrJack, this is Renegade signing out. But remember, keep spilling that tea, y'all. Bye!
Bye.